Modern Western culture operates on a deep-seated obsession with the individual. We value autonomy, independence, and the idea that our successes and failures happen in a vacuum of personal choice. This mindset dictates how we respond when someone struggles with depression or anxiety. Our default instinct is to isolate the person and look for the specific broken part inside. Traditional individual counseling follows this logic. A clinician assesses a patient against fixed norms, obtains a formal DSM diagnosis, and works to identify the internal cause of their emotional pain. The goal is to build up personal coping skills. In this model, the mind is treated as a closed machine that simply needs the right internal adjustment to function correctly again. However, relying solely on this isolated model reveals a significant mathematical flaw. This chart contrasts the time spent in a clinic with the time spent in the real world. A therapist has roughly 1 hour of influence per week. That patient spends the remaining 167 hours immersed in their daily environment and family system. If the clinician helps an individual develop new coping skills, but sends them back into the exact same family dynamics that maintained their problem, that progress faces a massive uphill battle. When the environment remains unchanged, individual gains rarely survive for long. A wider clinical lens is necessary to see the whole picture. This wider lens is systemic counseling. While it often involves seeing multiple family members at once, its true distinction is a specific framework for understanding human behavior. This diagram shows linear causality, the default for individual therapy. Point A causes point B. Systemic therapy uses circular causality. Every family entity interacts in a continuous loop. Point A influences B, which influences C, which loops back to A. Through this lens, a psychological symptom isn't a solitary glitch. It is an action making sense given the rules and interactions of that specific family system. To resolve the symptom, the therapist works to alter the entire feedback loop rather than focusing on a single person in isolation. This shift requires the counselor to focus on the dance rather than the individual dancer. Traditional therapy focuses on content, the specific details of what a person says. Systemic therapy prioritizes process, the hidden transactions and sequences of how family members interact. This movement away from individual pathology introduces a concept called equifinality. Equifinality suggests that because families are open, living systems, they can achieve a healthy end state through many different, unique paths. There is no single correct way to be a functional family. This chart highlights 13 different systemic models used by practitioners today. This grid shows the evolution of the field, moving from early pioneers like the strategic and structural models toward modern evidence-based practices like Imago and emotionally focused therapy. In all these models, the systemic counselor acts as a process leader. They map out complex family interactions instead of acting as a diagnostician searching for a single internal cure. Because they target different layers of the problem, individual and systemic therapies produce two distinct categories of change. First-order change refers to the superficial shifts or individual coping mechanisms often found in traditional therapy. First-order change can inadvertently protect an unhealthy family unit. If the individual learns to simply tolerate their environment, the overall system can maintain its dysfunctional balance without ever having to change. The goal of systemic therapy is second-order change. This involves transforming the actual rules and processes that govern the family system itself. When second-order change is achieved, the environment maintaining the psychological distress is replaced by something new. Over the last 20 years, the field's focus has shifted away from family pathology and dysfunction. The modern emphasis is on family resiliency. Counselors now look for the strengths a family has already demonstrated under stress and work to activate those existing resources. This framework normalizes the family process. It leverages optimism and collaborative planning to find solutions that the family already has the capacity to implement. Humans are not isolated machines to be diagnosed and fixed in a vacuum. We are deeply social beings, and often the most effective way to heal the person is to heal